Assalamu Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Salatu wassalamu ala Rasulil Ameen ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. Always my least favorite part of the day is the part after lunch. And I do always catch people dozing off. So when you get sleepy, feel free to get up, refresh wudu, and come back again. I've been saying that for years. I've yet to see someone do it. So if it doesn't work, I'll crumple a piece of paper and throw it at you. Publicly embarrassing. That works? But if you do feel sleepy, just get up, refresh wudu, and come back. Get coffee, get tea, water, whatever it is you need to do. And usually after the lunch break, I'll tell a poem. I'll say one of my poems on food. So just to get things started, yeah. And I don't think I've said any poems before here, right? Great. We'll do another one tomorrow. But today, there's a friend of mine we used to eat together a lot, so I wrote him this poem. I said to him, oh, and you can stop recording. I'll just leave it. So I said to him, I see you coming in your girth. Eat and drink is what you're worth. Your only talk is what to eat. This type of chicken, that type of meat. This type of food, that type of dessert. You eat until your stomach hurts. Follow the sunnah, I'm sure you've heard. Fill with food to about the third. But you eat the whole bird, the whole chicken. Your only sunnah is finger licking. Okay. There's more where that came from. I only have 2 religious poems and 5 on chicken and other things. Wow. No biryani yet. There's a DVD, a CD, audio CD. One of my favorites related to dawah. It's by Sheikh Walid Bassioun. Don't get me started on Sheikh Walid Bassioun. Sheikh Walid, that's all I have to say. It's called A Message from a New Muslim, or Message from a New Muslim. All right? You can get a hold of that. It's produced by Chinar Leaf. You can get a hold of that. It's just superb. Superb CD. It's basically, what I like about it, first of all, is they did a study. The Sheikh made a study before he just made the tape. He asked spoke to a lot of reverts, and a lot of questionnaires, and he found out the things that they go through when they become Muslim. And he put them in the audio. It's his voice. It's as if it's a new Muslim complaining to the Muslim community. It's superb. And these are actual problems that they go through. Message from a New Muslim, Sheikh Walid Bassioun. So if you can get a hold of that, listen to it, and it will help you deal with non-Muslims better. We were talking during lunch, and they were telling us about how some Muslims want to say the weirdest things during da'wah. I remember one time this guy became Muslim, so they had an iftar for Ramadan in his honor, and this other Muslim, other revert, wanted to sit next to him and talk to him about the DEEN and stuff. So he kept telling him, and this guy just became Muslim like a few days ago. He's telling him, in Islam, for some reason he just chose tayammum to explain to this guy, this new Muslim. And this is how he worded it. He said, in Islam, when we can't find water to clean ourselves, we clean ourselves with dirt. And that guy was, I see, okay. What kind of religion did I get myself into? If I can't find water, I take dirt and clean myself? He doesn't understand it. I mean, you know it's tayammum, it's just a quick wipe to the face and hands, that's it. This guy thinks maybe you got to take dirt and just pour it over your head. So you listen to that tape, it discusses things like this. So, you discover that as a community, really, this whole da'wah thing, it's a community project. And it has to do with a lot of issues, from ilm, from patience, from tarbiyah, from wisdom. And so many times, this new revert might make a mistake in salah, and the uncle might smack him after the salah. Because, why did you do this thing correctly? I thought I became Muslim 3 days ago. So our community is not even really ready and able to accept and receive these new Muslims. And wallahi, the complaints, I remember one time this guy took a Shahada in the masjid. And just look, within minutes, all the disagreements that he went through, within minutes. So The first guy came, shook his hand, congratulations, becoming Muslim. The next guy came, hugged him once, congratulations, becoming Muslim. Then the next guy comes, hugs him 3 times. And then the next guy comes, hugs him 3 times. Then he tells him, the Prophet ﷺ used to hug 3 times. Okay. So then I was watching this poor guy. The next guy comes, and he starts hugging the guy 3 times. And then he says, 3 times, right? The guy tells him, no, once. And already he's going with all this, you know? Or the thing about, remove the gold. And, the guy becomes Muslim and is like, tell him to take the gold off. Shahada was telling us how some rich guy became Muslim in the Philippines, so he invited everyone to his mansion. And so during the dinner, he's passing out, food, drinks to everybody. And there was guys sitting next to the Sheikh. Sheikh, tell him about the gold ring. Tell him about the gold ring. Sheikh, he became Muslim in the morning, Akhi. This morning he became Muslim. Immediately you want him to take off the gold ring. But you don't even do things like that when it comes to you. And now a Muslim, born Muslim, practicing, you tell me, Akhi, what you did is incorrect. There's actually a hadith and Bukhari. And they resist. They won't change. And you want this guy to change his life overnight. So there's a lot of wisdom involved with dealing with new Muslims. Message from a new Muslim, if you can get your hands on that, it's excellent. During the lunch break, one brother said that one time he was lowering his gaze and talking there were 2 women. He was lowering his gaze and talking. One of them kept laughing. Probably he assumes he was laughing at the idea that he was not looking at her. So what do you do in a situation like that? I mean, basically, where is it? Okay, well, anyways, what do you do there? Do you just ignore the laughter, or do you address it? Who would ignore it? Hands up. Who would address it? And who's just Canadian? Okay. All right. So a lot of people are undecided, right? Okay. But those who would address it, what would you say? Yeah. Sorry? You teach kids or something? You're a 2nd grade teacher or something? Share the joke with the rest of the class? Okay, ask a question, see if they're following. But we're saying you said you would address it, right?
Yes.
So how do you address it? I mean, address it directly.
Directly.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I know I'm kind of funny looking, but you don't have to laugh.
I like that. I like humor with these things, I like humor. Like sometimes people tell me things like, if it's just waiting for the violence in Islam, or you guys have to, your religion commands you to kill people. And I always say, if our religion commanded us to kill people, we wouldn't be talking right now. I don't do that part, but I do say that. I just added that last part for the last. Yeah. So good. So I like that. It's a joke. It could work very well. Funny looking. Anyone else? Anyone else? All right. Now, yeah, go ahead.
On regards to would you like me to tell you, would you like me to tell you on what Islam is?
Okay, so that you're going to address it directly, because the brother had a decent hunch that she was laughing because he's lowering his gaze. So then address it. Look, there is no script. I mean, I can never imagine myself standing in front of 2 people while one of them is just giggling and laughing her heart out at me, and I'm just not commenting. I'm following my script. There is no script. I'll stop and find out what she's doing. Well, what's the matter with you? In a nice way. So, find out what it is. There's no script here. I mean, I just can't just sit there and someone giggling at me the whole time and I never address it. And maybe it's not the gaze thing. Maybe I need to find out what it is. Plus, do you think someone who ridicules you to the point where they're laughing at you might become Muslim? No. Probably not. Probably not. So let me fix that issue. So if you think my religion is a joke because of what I'm doing, most likely you probably won't become Muslim unless I address that issue. So address the issue. There is no script. Okay, and address it however you want, and you would ask, are you whatever way you want to ask. Are you laughing because I'm not looking at you, or you may ask what's funny. You can say that. You may ask what's funny. Okay, but where was we? Don'ts. All right. Now I can easily take all the do's and reverse them and say these are the don'ts. Right. I think there's only one repetition in here because there's something else about it. So, we already discussed the first one. Second one, don't use annoying approaches. I'm going to skip the example there. It's just a funny story, but I'm skipping it. Don't be evasive. Isn't that the opposite of be straightforward? It is, right? So why did I put it here again? Because when you're evasive, it adds another... you know what I mean when I say don't be evasive. And someone asks you a certain question about, let's say, the Prophet ﷺ and the age of Aisha, and then you don't answer that question, you move around to something else. They catch that. They're not dumb. They'll catch that. And they'll think, oh, I got him. And his religion doesn't have an answer for this. And they don't have a good explanation. That's why. So I'm putting it here because it adds another element. When you're not being straightforward, you're being evasive, it adds this other element that you have a religion with a lot of holes in it, and you don't want to address an issue because you don't have a good answer for that issue. I remember one time this da'iyah was being evasive. This guy says, look, answer my question. Wait, I'll come to your question. There's a building in the desert. He has this analogy he loves. He wants to use it even though it's not the appropriate place. And that guy started to smirk like, okay, I got him. He can't answer me. That's why he's going on to something else. So he thought in his mind, khalas, I destroyed this Muslim. They don't have any strong arguments. They're just like us. They're weak. So don't be evasive. Let's see. Yeah, so, by the way, look, for example, the golden rule, you apply that in that scenario. You don't apply it in every scenario. We might discuss, I might tell you the story of this person, and then I said this, and they said that, they became Muslim. That's a specific scenario. It happened to work. Now, don't think, like I said, there's no formula, no magic wand. So don't think I can just take this because it worked here and apply it over there. It doesn't work like that. And so, let's look at one issue with this is a true story, an actual question that came to me. This man, he asked a sheikh this question. So he said, basically he has a non-Muslim friend who said there's nothing wrong with fornication and things of that sort, because as long as it's done with the consent of the participants, then there's no problem with it. So the Muslim then tried a da'wah technique from the Prophet ﷺ. So he tells him, would you, and you know this, the narration when the Sahabi came, he says, would you accept that for your mother? He said, no. Would you accept it for your sister? He said, no. So he tells him, would you accept it for your mother? He said, sure, if she wants it. Would you accept it for your sister? Sure, if it happened to do with her consent. So the guy, the Muslim, he was dumbstruck. This is a method of the Prophet ﷺ, and it failed. How can the Prophet ﷺ's method fail? So who will put their hand up and tell us why this method did not work here? Yes?
Because the guy that Muhammad ﷺ was talking to him was in a culture that doesn't accept this for a mother or daughter or wife or so. But here the culture is different, and people raised up that they accept these issues. So it doesn't work.
Right. Excellent. Jazakallah khair. So the sister is saying the culture is different, and if you want to use, instead of the word culture, something bigger than culture, that it would be? No? Italian? Mentality. Is that what you were saying? Mentality? Okay. I didn't know they had Italians in the region. I'm like, forget about it. Ahmed, you gotta like that one. Okay. So, religion, right? The Prophet ﷺ used a technique with a Muslim. First of all, understands halal, haram, understands haya, understands obedience to Allah, understands all these things. And he was coming to get a rukhsa, like an allowance from the Prophet ﷺ. But it worked because he had all these, he knew jealousy, envy, ghira, all these things he had. That's why it worked here. So the mistake the Muslim was making, he took a method, something that worked on, the Prophet ﷺ used it on a Muslim. He was trying to apply it to a non-Muslim. The person said, yeah, he doesn't know about zina being haram and iqab and punishment. He said, okay, yeah, if she's consenting, and she says, yeah, khalas. That's why it didn't work. So what I'm trying to say, don't think you can take a technique or formula and apply it where it doesn't belong. It will probably work where it does belong, but not where it doesn't belong. Yes?